here, there's another point that I'd like to make, which is the philosophy of physics modeling. So again, for those of you who are not physicists, it's important to appreciate how physicists think, because we try to simplify things as much as possible and still account for reality. And there's a very beautiful saying by somebody we all know, Albert Einstein: things should be made as simple as possible, but no simpler. And so when we try to describe how people evolve and how their political opinions may evolve, the trick here is to try and simplify people into the simplest possible description, but no simpler, because if it's too simple, you throw everything away. And so the art of physics modeling is to make as simple, but no simpler. So here is a typical example of physics modeling. Here is a cow, and we feed cow hay. So this is a bale of hay. And after some complex processes go on in the stomach and digestion and who knows what else, out comes a bottle of milk. And so the way that physicists will model this, and maybe some of you know what's going to happen next, is consider a spherical cow with some input rate I, some output rate O. And so this is the kind of simplification that we try and do. Unfortunately for the spherical cow problem, this is probably too simple, but it's a philosophy that we often use in describing real physical systems. So with this preliminary, let me now go on and discuss, now that I've outlined the questions, I want to tell you the three models that I'll be discussing in this talk. One is the voter model, which is a very simple model for how one reaches consensus if you have only two states to describe your political leanings. I also want to describe a very beautiful model known as bounded compromise. And this is something we're all familiar with. If you are friendly with somebody and we discuss some political thing like, do you like Bush, do you like Clinton, if we are on the same side of the political leanings, we may come to some compromise over our opinions. But if I am a very rabid right-winger and you're a very rabid left-winger, we just won't talk to each other. And so this is the basis of a bounded compromise model. And finally, I'll talk a little bit about models for social balance, which is a way of describing how one deals with social frustration. So the main result, there are three results in this talk. The first one is for the voter model. I'll discuss the conditions for how consensus is achieved and how quickly it is achieved for various settings of the voter model. In the case of compromise models, I'll describe how lack of compromise can lead to social fragmentation. And there's a very nice example from my home country, Canada, which had an election in 1993 that is so bizarre that if you aren't aware of it, it's a wonderful example. And finally, in discussing social balance, I'll describe the empirical lessons of social balance to problems of violence, and in particular, street gangs in Los Angeles and the start of World War I.